another episode of Dubai, not Dubai. Today we are just in the office and we're going to be going over and recapping 2025. Obviously we're not quite at the end of 2025 yet, we've still got a couple of weeks left, but there are some projections in here, stats, facts, figures, and also a projection for 2026. So it's going to be short and sweet, we're going to jump straight into it. If you have any questions regarding anything for 2026 or a recap of 2025, you can drop it in the comments below. So, to start off with, the amount of transactions that have happened at the moment is around 172,000 transactions this year in Dubai, and that's just sale transactions, not rental transactions. Now, in the next 2 weeks, it's expected to be thousands upon thousands more, because that's just the way it goes, and the end projected number is going to be supposedly just over 200,000. What does that mean? Is it's basically an 11% increase from 2024, which means we are still on the upward stretch of the Dubai real estate market in general, which you guys know if you saw a couple of videos back. I basically did a price comparison to 2024 to 2025, and as you can see from that and also from these numbers here, it's very much still on the up. For market share, this to me is a very interesting one. A lot of people are asking, is the supply going to meet the demand? Now, a lot of people are also saying that there are going to be too many apartments and not enough villas. People that are moving to Dubai are more favouring villas, especially if they are families. However, this year to date, the market share was split into apartments and villas. 82% was apartments for the market share, so that is dominating massively, and 16% was villas. Obviously you have your other little things like your land, things that don't fall under these two, but the fact that it was 82% versus 16% is quite telling, I think. People are still in demand for apartments for investment bases. I do think this will slowly flip as we come into 2026 because of the supply that's coming to the market with apartments, and maybe not necessarily as much with villas. But with Dubai's real estate market and also the plan for Dubai in general for 2040, this should probably even out quite a lot with what they're bringing in, and also the types of people that are moving and investing to Dubai. Now we move on to 2026. Off-plan is a huge sector of Dubai real estate, and with that we had a massive burst of projects being released in 2023/2024 when the market kind of went back up, COVID was done, people were ready to put their money into Dubai and out of the other countries. Now, because they all launched here, you know, that's now 3 years, 2 years out from when they first launched, so they're going to be handing over in 2026. And it is projected that there's going to be between 70,000 and 100,000 units coming to the market in 2026, and that is a mixture of townhouses, apartments, and everything in between. This bodes a lot of questions. Is it going to stabilise rent? Rent at the moment is still very much on an upward spiral. Now, if you talk to somebody that's been in Dubai for 10, 15 years, they will tell you that right now rent is crazy in Dubai. In comparison to other places in the world, we're still pretty similar. You know, we're not masses above everybody else. But in comparison to what Dubai was a couple of years ago, or more than a couple of years ago, we're still at the very tippity top of that rental market. Now, with all of these coming to market, it should stabilise the rent, should being the key word. We don't have a crystal ball, but if all of these do come to market, there is going to be so much stock. Obviously there's going to be a lot of people moving to Dubai, but therefore they're going to have a lot more choice. So it's going to force landlords to be in competition if they want to get their unit rented, or in fact they need to get their unit rented. It should somewhat stabilise or maybe ease the prices of rentals. The next question it poses, is there going to be softer entry points for new investors? Again, if you've got 70,000 new properties coming to the market, and you've also got all the existing properties that still want to be sold on the secondary market, there should technically be a lot more supply to choose from, which puts you as a seller in a lot of competition. And we don't really like competition, because if there's too much competition and you need to sell it, you're going to have to reduce your price. If it's not a need and it's a want, that's two completely different things. But obviously right now in the market there is not much supply at all, so buyers are coming up to the prices of sellers. If this does happen and the demand doesn't necessarily meet the supply, so the other way around, then you might start to see softer, and that's not lower, but just slightly more benefits to being a buyer in Dubai in both the off-plan resale and the secondary market. Which obviously brings me on to the last one. Is the supply going to meet the demand? This question I get constantly in Dubai, and if I had a crystal ball and I was able to tell you exactly the answer to this question, it would be great, but I don't. So, if everything follows suit for the plan of 2040, and if you haven't seen that, I talk about it in 3 episodes back along, so jump on that and have a little look. But if all goes according to plan to that, then realistically the supply should meet the demand and the demand should meet the supply. It should kind of connect. We don't know what's going to happen to the market within the next couple of years. There could be a global change, there could be a global shift that affects Dubai. Not that Dubai really gets affected by anything globally, unless it's, on a massive scale, something like COVID. So to answer the question shortly, if you were to go statistically by what they're trying to achieve, the answer is yes to both. They should tie in together. But anything can happen, and that is why 2026 is going to be a very interesting year. We've literally been on an upward line for a very, very long time in Dubai. We've had a couple of dips here and there. We're talking about like point something of a %, which isn't enough to worry people, although it does. But this line going up, at some point it has to either plateau or come down. It can't be going up forever. So 2026 is looking good. Obviously we had a mass increase on basically everything in the real estate market in comparison to 2024. But if you have any more specific questions, make sure you drop it in the comments, and remember to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you next week.